All right, guys, welcome back to another film room session with Cover One. I'm your host, Eric Turner. Today, I wanted to take a look at some of the run fits from the Bills starting defense and how the Browns gashed them for 164 yards on the ground. The Browns carried the ball 32 times. That's about 5.1 yards per carry. Obviously, last year, the Bills struggled versus the run at times, and a lot of that had to do with processing, pre to post snap, run fits, and just missed tackles and just fundamentals overall. So I want to take a look at a few of the plays where the Browns broke off a couple of the bigger runs from their matchup. All right, so here's the first play. It's on the first drive, and it's a play that not many teams can run, and that's a tackle pull. So you're going to see this right tackle pull to the weak side, and that creates issues from the get-go because you got to think about it this way. Run defense is a numbers game. If you're lining up like this, the defense is going to line and fit or run fit certain gaps if the ball is going to go to the offense's right, and then certain gaps if the ball is going to go to the offense's left. Well, on this play, when you pull a tackle or when you pull a guard or when you pull a tight end or bring a tight end across formation, what that is doing is changing gaps. Instead of having so many gaps to the offense's right, now you're creating a gap by pulling to the weak side. So that's going to change the numbers. That's going to change the run fit of the linebackers and the defensive linemen. Let's kind of break down what gaps these defenders would probably have. Let's start to the offense's right and kind of break down what gaps those defenders would have if the ball were to go to the right. The strong side A gap would be Edmonds. The B gap would be Kyle Williams. The C gap would be Shaq Lawson. One of these two defenders, either Teron Johnson or Poyer, is going to have the D gap, and then the cornerbacks Trey White and Johnson are probably just going to fill in outside these receivers because those are gaps as well and have to be accounted for. Now to the weak side, you're going to have weak side A is going to be Starr, weak side B is going to be Milano, weak side C is going to be Jerry Hughes. And so when this tackle pulls, they're creating another gap to this weak side. And Milano does a good job of getting downhill and squeezing his gap. So you see helmet outside, he's got B gap. Here's Hughes with the C gap. This gap is wide open. So Starr is double team. You see Edmonds come downhill, trying to fill his strong A gap. But again, the ball's going to the left. So he gets caught too deep while he is in his gap. If the ball were to go to the right, he's out of position to help over the top on the weak side. So basically, the numbers are in the Browns' favor. This is a minor issue that can be corrected because Edmonds, as an inside linebacker, is typically reading the guard to the near back. All right, so he should be reading one of these guards right here and then watching the flow of the play. Well, he sees this big opening right here. He gets downhill and is caught too tight to the line of scrimmage, so he's unable to use his athleticism to work over the top. What you'd like to see is him slow play this a little more, recognize this tackle come over the top, realizing that another gap's being created here. And I think right around here is where he actually starts to recognize it. Because if he were to slow play this, he would have a free run in this gap right here. And then the Bills are in pretty good shape. Why? Because again, Milano's got the B, Hughes got the C, although he is upfield a little too much. Edmonds would have this gap right here. Instead, you're going to have Teron Johnson do a great job of flowing with the play, getting across the formation and making the tackle. But these are minor things. I mean, this is really a minor play where once Edmonds gets up to speed and recognizing his keys and sticking to his keys, I think he'll be just fine. I mean, structurally, if you look at the defense, it's tough on this weak side because you have Starr in the tilt, basic play in a shade here. You got Milano right here. This is where the defense wants to attack. You have Jerry Hughes in a wide 9. Based on this set by the tackle, he's going to rush upfield. Until right there, he realizes it's a run. But by then, he's out of position. And there's no one to account for this gap. So really a minor thing. But I think once Edmonds recognizes that, hey, there's a tackle pulling here, which he does right around here, he'll be fine because if you look backside, he doesn't have to worry about this gap with the ball going to the defense's right. This gap is actually accounted for. Kyle Williams attacks upfield, and his aggressiveness is what makes him who he is, especially versus the pass. But on plays like this, it can cause disruption for the run fits because you see he attacks he attacks that gap with aggressiveness. Well, the offense moves that gap, takes away a gap from the right side. He's caught upfield, but Shaq Lawson has this area, this alley taken care of because the ball is going to left. So all they need to do is get Edmonds processing and sticking to his keys. And I think he's going to have some growing pains. That play can be corrected by the coaches. All right, on to the next play. 1st and 10, ball on the left hash. A lot going on in this play. First of all, you're going to have this wide receiver motioning, and he's going to do a little orbit motion, so he's going to arc back here post-snap. You're going to have this tight end coming across a formation. But I want you to watch the back end of this coverage because, as is often the case, the Bills' safeties are tied into run fits. And this one was a little late by Poyer coming down post-snap. He's unable to deflect the stiff arm and make the tackle. Again, action here. Action by the tight end, simple play right up the middle that turns into an explosive play. So let's take a look at what happened here. Run fits are all about numbers. Run fits are all about processing pre to post snap on plays like this where there's a lot of split flow action. Ball's going to be going to the right side of the offense, but you have flow from a tight end going this way. You have flow from a receiver going that way. And as that motion comes, you'll see Trey, he drops off, and Poyer, in my opinion, should be dropping down at that point, because he's going to have the edge here. He's going to have this D gap here off the edge here. He's a little late on the recognition and unable to bring the running back down, and Hyde bounces it for a big gain. All right, so let's look at it from the tight camera angle. The defense is in good shape. What happens post-snap is really what the issue is here. So you're going to see this tight end come across the formation, and as he comes across the formation, you'll see Milano call it out. Right here, defense is in pretty good shape. What needs to happen is that because this tight end's coming across a formation, a gap is moving. You see Milano pointing it out. Watch Edmonds' reaction to that. He notices it. Zoe gets caught a little too deep. You like to see him slow play this so that he can help out here, because what happens if a play action boot comes out, this tight end comes underneath, someone's got to cover that under route, and that would be Zoe here. That's not the case here, but he gets caught a little too deep. What's happening as this tight end comes across formation, the linebackers have to adjust their run fits. Okay, so rather than Edmonds playing this gap right here, that becomes Milano's gap. Zoe's gap right here would be Edmonds' gap. And then, of course, Zoe would be out here wide because this is Jerry Hughes. He's crashing on the run. So they would be in better shape if all three of the linebackers had bumped gaps post-snap. As I play it forward, you'll see Milano insert into this gap. Not a bad play. It's quick. He's aggressive. He fills that gap. All right, that's not bad. Poyer should be filling downhill now. He's a little late. He's worried about this inside gap when he should be just getting downhill. Now, this isn't a play that's probably supposed to bounce wide, but Hyde has good vision here, and he does. And, you know, he makes a big play of it. It's a really nice play, and he had a few good runs versus the Bills' defense. So, again, pre- to post-snap processing of teams that are trying to pull guards, tackles, tight ends to screw with the processing of two young linebackers in Matt Milano and Edmonds. But again, I think this play is more of a structural issue than it is all on the players, because I think that Leslie Frazier needs to do a better job of scheming up these type of plays. It's these type of plays that the Bills had issues with last year versus the Saints. A lot of that orbit motion, a lot of those jet action, jet sweep looks from the offenses really screwed up the processing and the eyes and the eye discipline of the linebackers last year. Although the Bills struggled versus these type of looks, I think that it's good to get it on film now so the staff can address it and teach the players or make adjustments in the scheme to these type of plays. All right, similar play. You're not going to have the orbit motion, but you're going to have the tight end coming across the formation, and it again really screws things up for the run fits of the defense. Now, I want you to pay attention to the coverage here, because the coverage appears to be zone coverage. On this play, you're going to have Hyde down in the box and Davis in off coverage. And that's important because you're going to watch this wide receiver block Hyde and really spring this play from being a 4-yard gain to an explosive play. Higgins does a good job of picking off Hyde here, and Hyde is unable to make the tackle in the hole. Many of you guys watch this live and we're probably flipping out on why Milano left this strong side A gap. Again, a lot of it has to do with the structure of the defense and what the offense is throwing with them post snap. Milano does a really good job of reading the flow of this play as the tight end comes across the formation, all right? And as that tight end comes across the formation, again, it's a numbers game. They're creating another gap to the other side. So you're going to see the weak side of this defense adjust. They have to bump gaps, right? So you'll see Milano insert into this B gap. You're going to have Shaq Lawson crash here. What happens if Tyrod pulls it here, and this is just a zone read play? Well, he would have running back. Edmonds would have quarterback here. That's not what happens here, but they have to account for that. That has to be part of their assignment, part of Edmonds, Lawson, Milano's thinking when this happens. So then who has this A gap that Hyde shoots through? That's a tough question to answer because I don't know the exact responsibilities, but you see Hyde does have a chance here, but that little block by Higgins forces Hyde to try to make an arm tackle, and he's just not going to make that tackle on Hyde. So with the ball going to the defense's right, you would think that Milano would have strong side A, Williams strong side B, Hughes strong side C. Hyde right here has strong side D, but again, this tight end comes across the formation, so they lose one gap here. And you'll see to the right side, the defense is in pretty good shape. You have the edge set by Hughes there. Ball's not going to bounce out there. Well, there's no gap here for Hyde, so you'll see him scrape across and just miss the tackle. So it's tough to say that this was totally one of the players' fault for blowing a run gap, but in my opinion, and from the research I've done, I think this is more of a structural issue. I think Hyde breaks this play because of the structure of the defense. And I say that because if you look at the play prior, which we're about to look at, the Bills didn't do a bad job of defending it. Okay, so this is the play prior. And if you guys pay attention when you're watching film, you're going to see little things like this that will kind of give you insight into what happened on that play I just showed you. The Browns at this time are using tempo. After they run this play, they go right into tempo and get up to the line and run this very same play that you just saw. Well, on this play, you're going to have Poyer down in the box. You're going to have press man coverage, and you're going to have a tighter look from these linebackers. Now, the Browns do get a decent gain on this, but you'll see how the numbers game and how the players play this look versus the last look better. So we don't have the end zone look at this play, but I'll try to show it to you as best I can. On this play, everyone's manned up out here. These DBs are manned up. So with Davis down on the line of scrimmage, this wide receiver has to block Davis instead of blocking Poyer. So Poyer's free here as this tight end comes across the formation. All right, same fit. You'll see Milano point that tight end coming across the formation. You'll see Edmonds kind of get hung up here, as does Milano. Poyer is scraping across the formation as that tight end comes across the formation. Here's Hyde, the ball carrier, and he just wraps him up. Again, still a 4-yard gain. That's not good, but you'll see how the coverage tie-in of man versus zone and how that kind of played into that block by Higgins leading to an explosive play. Frazier has to scheme up something different on the weak side of these runs because defenses are going to do this a lot. When you have young linebackers that will struggle with processing consistently, weak side gap runs like counter trays with the guard, tackle, or tight end, or split flow plays with the tight end coming back across a formation are going to create issues in themselves. Adding an athletic quarterback to the equation like Tyrod Taylor, where you have to defend zone reads, triple options, and stuff like that, is going to create even more issues because it's another layer that a defense has to account for. So I don't think the Bills defense was ready for this type of sophistication in the preseason. I'm not making excuses for them, but this is just another layer on top of a base run play here. But it's something that, again, that's now on film and the Bills staff can adjust to. While they may have a counter or a counter tray or run fit well here, they aren't totally accounted for the quarterback here. If he were to just keep it and run here, which you see Taylor kind of looking at Edmonds almost like, hey, man, I should have probably kept it here. But just another layer, another teaching point for this staff that they have on film now where they can adjust the scheme or just teach the guys to process it better, where they're not getting pulled out of gaps, where they're not fast flowing downhill like Milano was on that big play. They should be able to make some tweaks to stop big plays like this. All in all, I know the first stringers didn't look good against the run, especially early on in the game. As I mentioned, I think this film is going to be great for teaching, great for the staff to adjust and really iron out those issues, because teams are going to attack the defense in that manner. With the talent that the Bills added on the defensive side of the ball, some of these changes that they can make from the first 2 games of the preseason, and I'm sure even the 3rd game here in the coming week, is really going to make a difference come week 1 and the regular season. Thanks for joining me in this film room session, and hope you enjoyed it.